I'm happy to be here. And first of all, just a few brief housekeeping rules. As you know, you're all muted for the duration of the webinar, but this session is recording, and Svetlana has kindly agreed to share both the slides and recording after the event. If we have the time, there will be Q&A session at the end. If you have unanswered questions, please put them in the chat, and Svetlana has kindly agreed to collect them and send them to me, and then we can have a separate meeting if that's something you're interested in. Just very briefly about myself, given my abrupt entrance, I'm Anne. I'm European advisor at United Kingdom Research Office in Brussels. And the mission of this office is to increase UK participation in Horizon Europe. This includes both academic and non-academic institutions. So basically, if you are from an academic or non-academic institution, just feel free to go on our website and have a look at us, have a look at the services we provide, and contact us if you have any questions about how to participate in specific Horizon Europe calls. I will be talking more about specific research areas, new funding opportunities in these research areas in about, I think, 10 minutes. But for now, let's just say this is what we do. And now we can continue with the project. So the DIOR project is funded under the Horizon 2020 Marie Sklodowska Career Actions. I will be giving you a very brief overview of the scheme, just so that you basically can see why this project has been funded and how it is relevant to this particular funding scheme, how this funding scheme could support you, for example, in if you're looking for funding. And I will also talking about funding opportunities in thematic areas in which this project falls, namely artificial intelligence, machine learning, telecommunication, and digital. As you can see, this is what we will be discussing today. Also, please let me know if I'm talking a bit too fast. We have a lot to go through, but again, I am happy to have separate meetings if you have very specific questions. So first of all, the question: how does the DIOR project fit into European funding landscape? Well, I could speak about EU policies all day. So I will be just giving you a very brief overview of EU policies and how they fit together with EU-funded research. The EU has a bucket list of policy goals they want to accomplish in the upcoming decade, such as the green and digital transition for EU societies and economies, making sure that EU security is enhanced. That would include the EU security, and also ensuring that EU remains and is a global scientific leader and basically has, let's say, leadership when it comes to scientific excellence. And the Horizon Europe research program, which is funded with 95 billion from 21 to 27, is basically the main instrument of the European Union to achieve all these policy goals. Again, in the interest of time, I cannot go over all these policy goals in detail, but I will be going over the funding opportunities in machine learning, AI, digital telecommunications in more detail, because I think they might be of more interest to you. But it's really fascinating, I must say. But before we do this, apologies, we will just go very briefly over the DIOR project, how it is being funded, and how this funding is supporting stronger links between academia and non-academic institutions. The Marie Sklodowska Actions is a European funding program to fund, to train researchers for research, as they say. So basically, in this funding program, you are being funded not only to do research, but also to train the researchers on the project. For example, in doctoral networks, you would be funded to recruit PhD students who would be working on research projects, but you also would be receiving funding to explicitly train these researchers, both on research skills, but also career opportunities, etc. So there's the European Union really wants researchers to be well-trained, well-rounded individuals, entrepreneurs, for example, later going on into non-academic enterprises through this funding. And what is really to note here with Marie Curie, with all Marie Curie actions, is it's excellent research in all research disciplines. So there are no priorities, no thematic priorities. There are no prioritized research disciplines. As long as your research proposal is good, it doesn't matter which area you are coming from. It's basically a fully bottom-up manner. And the participation of the non-academic sector is strongly encouraged. And there's a really large emphasis on international, intersectoral, and interdisciplinary cooperation. We'll see this in more detail on the next slide, where I have included a schematic of the consortium partners in the DIOR project, as I understand it. And I will just very briefly outline how basically the consortium partners relate to this funding scheme. So in this particular funding scheme, RISE, the research project is implemented through seconding researchers from one institution, the sending institution, to another institution, the hosting institution. The researchers will then perform R&I activities at the hosting institution. For example, you can see here that Skane, as an example, has sent researchers to Warwick and to the Instituto de Telecomunicações. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing it. I apologize in advance to anyone speaking Portuguese. But basically, this would mean that staff members have been seconded to these other institutions where they're doing research and innovation activities, but where they're also sharing knowledge and learning knowledge. So this is not only R&I, but also transfer of knowledge, transfer of specialized knowledge, which the researchers then later take with them when they return to their sending institution. So for example, the seconded researchers would then return to Skane, and where they can teach it to their colleagues. So it is really making sure that there is a knowledge transfer. But this leads also to stronger connections between academia and industry. This leads basically within the schemes, researchers will have access to specialized expertise in infrastructure. They might not have access to these specific infrastructures otherwise. Again, there's also working together on a project which can become commercialized, and there are training opportunities available. This is RISE. This is just one of the Marie Curie schemes. There are upcoming Marie Curie schemes in April and May, the postdoctoral fellowships and the doctoral networks. And if you're interested, just Google Marie Curie and UK NCPs, and you will immediately find our website. And we will be holding more dedicated webinars on upcoming funding opportunities in the space later this year, I think in May and June. And you are welcome to attend. They are free. There will be a series of webinars on all aspects of applying the funding available, the eligibility criteria, and we will really guide you through the process. Very briefly, because I think you are also much more interested in the array of funding opportunities in the research area I've outlined at the beginning, but just very briefly to drive the point home, RISE secondments, so secondments in this particular Marie Curie scheme are really about knowledge transfer, so that the seconded staff at any career stage can return to the sending institution to pass on knowledge. And the funding is really quite attractive because travel expenses, accommodation, and subsidies, everything is covered. And also your cost, the cost of the organization in relation to this action is also covered. So then I think I should be, I'm just checking the time because I just want to make sure I also have the opportunity to ask questions if there are any. And
great time, and thank you, don't worry.
No worries, okay, thank you. You're making a great team, Svetlana, thank you. So EU funding opportunities is something I will now outline a bit longer because I think this is what you might be very interested in. And firstly, just so that we don't forget it, how do you find partners? That's actually one of the most asked questions that's one of the questions I usually get asked. How do I find partners? What I always advise people is that you can really proactively contact potential partners, both in the academic and the non-academic sphere. You would be surprised that many non-academic partners are really surprised that they are contacted because they haven't really thought about, participating in a consortium. But if contacted, they're actually, quite happy to contribute. For example, Svetlana has kindly asked me to say that, for example, Skane is very open to collaborations. And if you are interested in, collaborating, just feel free to contact her. And if you're unaware of potential partners, you can always go into the Cordis database. The Cordis database is a new database of funded projects, where they list all the project participants. So, for example, I looked for telecommunications for the last year, and these were just two of the EU projects I found. So if you don't know where to start, if you don't know where to find specific project partners, you can really just go into Cordis, look for the research area, have a look at the research area you're interested in, and then find your partners. Core web pages also usually include a partner search function where you can publish your details or identify potential partners. And there are also dedicated brokerage events. I published an example here where you can participate, you can introduce yourself, you can outline project activities you're interested in, you can even outline your potential project, and you can find partners there. And I would really strongly encourage you to think about what you want to get out of a consortium, what you want to get out of participating, if so. Then we are now going into a little bit more detail in the EU funding landscape. I will be discussing items in general, but then I will also providing you with some information about especially on digital AI and machine learning. So this is the Horizon Europe landscape. So it's 95 billion over 6 years. It has 3 pillars, as you can see. And the participation of non-academic partners is strongly desired. And just be very clear that you just don't single out one pillar for funding. There's opportunity for funding in all pillars, as I will now show you. And just really go to events, have a look at them, think about what you want to achieve, and you will find that there are really a variety of funding opportunities. You might not have thought of at first glance, but then once you get to know them, you'll find out that there's really a lot of funding available. And I've just given you here some indication about the available funding in this funding period for these clusters, thematic clusters, for health, civil security for society, and digital industry and space. So there are also the EU partnerships. In EU partnership, the EU is teaming up with private and public partners to fund specific thematic research initiatives. You can see here a list of all the partnerships in specific clusters. And here's the source. So if you're interested, you can have a look at the slides later on and just click on the link. And just in terms of how much is being invested, because I think this is something that might be of interest to you, you're really seeing here that the EU is, for example, investing 8 billion over the next 6 years in this cluster, so in digital, industry, and space. But there's also non-EU partners are investing 14 billion. In this cluster. So it is something, if you're interested in this, it's something to think about, because if you participate in EU partnerships, you're joining a large network where you can contribute, where you can find partners, where you basically become internationally connected. Okay, here are three links. Here are the 3 main partnerships for AI, digital, and health. So just click on the links and you'll find out more information. Then I will very briefly introduce to you the EIC, which is a new funding program to identify, develop, and scale up breakthrough technologies and game-changing innovations with market potential. And they are all very different. So they are focused on different aspects of the market scale-up. But there's funding available in your research areas. So in digital, AI, machine learning, health, through the open calls of each specific funding call. Please note that the challenges have different priorities, have specific priorities. So you really need to check whether they have priorities in your research area. The open calls, they are very open, it's bottom up. but these ones are very specific, and I couldn't find any relevant funding opportunities this year, but you should just check every year. So I'll be over, it's just taking me 2 more minutes. So the European Institute for Innovation and Technology is basically trying to bring together organizations from business, education, and research to form partnerships, the so-called KICs. And as you can see, there's a huge, it's a huge investment, a huge support for startups, for knowledge triangles between education, businesses, and research. The only thing I would like to flag is that the EIT only provides 25% of the funding, and the remaining 75% of the funding comes from other funding sources. But again, this is something you can have a look at. I will be circulating the slides, and you can have a look at this later on. The very last slide is about UK participation, which is a very, let's say, very interesting topic at the moment. Okay. And basically, in a nutshell, UK entities are fully eligible to participate in Horizon Europe calls as if the UK has already associated, as per the European Commission's Q&A. And you must apply as beneficiaries to Horizon Europe calls to be eligible for funding, offer funding to the guarantee should UK not have associated by the time you need to sign your grant agreement. So if you're successful, and if the UK has not associated at this point of signing the grant agreement, then basically you will have to have a look at the guarantee. Which the UK government has established to fund eligible UK-based research activities of successful Horizon Europe proposals. This guarantee has been extended several times, and it's reviewed regularly. And it's now in place to cover all Horizon Europe calls that close on and before 30th of June. I would strongly encourage you to have a look at our website, because we have a fact sheet here, which we regularly update with all the latest information. So you'll always find the latest information on this website. And again, if you have any questions, you also have our email address on the website, so you can also contact us as well, and we're happy to support you. Here are just the statistics. And as you can see, the guarantee is there to support UK-based research, given the current, let's say, uncertain times.